throughout this interview, there's these things where you've taken kind of unorthodox approaches, industry approaches to getting things. And the term butterfly effect keeps running through my head. Like if this one thing doesn't happen, some of all of these other things don't happen. You know what I mean? Like the,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
I
almost like
do.
the Back to the Future thing, where if some of these just little moments, just this one little thing, if this one modeling, agent didn't see something in you that reminded you of his daughter, maybe this interview isn't happening right now. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I have actually often thought about that. It was a commercial agent, but if the
yeah.
commercial agent hadn't absolutely persisted and forced me to agree to audition for Adam at 6 a.m., right? Or if I hadn't been signed by that commercial agent, I mean, yeah, it is like a butterfly effect. It it really is. And I think that life is like that. I think everybody's lives are like that.
Oh, big
Not
time.
just, I think everybody's lives are like that. And here's an interesting little side story. So there's a good friend of mine. She's turning 90 in November. And we had a ceremony for her a couple of days ago. I nominated because I'm in union service, as I have mentioned, and so is she for 45 years. And I partially, actually a lot, got into union service because of her. I so admired her and what she did for actors, and saw her do it for years, and then I eventually thought, you know, it's time. I should do this. And so I did. And then years go by, and I'm in this committee and that committee and on the board and whatever. And so is she. And, I get to know her, and which was great because I really I kind of idolized her. And so when I got to this certain committee, and I was able to nominate people for this one particular incredible award called the Ralph Morgan Award, which you get for your dedication to union service. And so I nominated her, and of course it was all secret. She didn't know because God forbid you tell somebody you nominated and they don't get it, right? That would be horrible. So it went on for like many, many months, and I couldn't tell her. And she's so humble; she never thought she would get it anyway. She never even thought about it. And so I nominated her. It was, of course, a very enthusiastically, wholeheartedly received, and so the other day we had this beautiful event, beautiful at the Union for her, and beautiful food and flowers, and it was just great. And I made a speech for her about her. There were three of us that made speeches, and just talked about her and her life, and she's just quite the inspiration. And but when I had been interviewing her, and this comes back to the butterfly effect. When I interviewed her, because I said, I'm going to interview you. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah, because I got to write the speech and I want to make sure I include everything that you want included. And I have questions I want to ask you. And so I asked her all these various questions and took notes so I could write my speech. And because I'm also a writer. And so at the end of this, I said to her, and this is going to make me tear up. I'll just tell you in advance. And I said to her, so what is it like to be you? And what advice would you have for people who follow you? And gave me this incredible answer. She said, everything has been a surprise. Oh, that gets me. And she said, I just put one foot in front of the other and walked through every door that opened. And that was like so emotional, just so emotional and true. And I thought, me too. Yeah. And she nailed it. And so when I gave my speech and I quoted what she said, I mean, everybody cried. Everybody just went, oh my gosh. because that thing about what she said about everything has been a surprise. And then she explained the whole thing to me about her life, that she never expected this to happen. She never expected that to happen. She never expected to get this role or that role. And she never expected to do human service. And she never expected all these things. And I thought, because, yes, because she put one foot in front of the other and walked through every door that opened. And that is like a great way to live. Just walk through those doors and see what happens. And that's what she did, and that's what I have done. But I have never been able to verbalize it in the same way that she did. And it was true. It was probably true for a lot of people there, because the room was filled with artists. And, that's kind of what we do. We kind of just jump off, I mean, for me, it's more like I just jumped off cliffs, and with no safety net. And I think that's a good way to live.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You sit in your little, whatever it is you're in, but you dream of other things. Take a chance, even if you fail. Take a chance.
There's a lot of people I think everybody has the opportunity for greatness in different ways. But you have to, one, have your eyes open, because a lot of times it's right there and you don't realize it. In other words, you've got a perfectly good written script and you're seated in the plane and you don't realize that Spielberg's right behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And totally. You had it, and you could have just passed it back and you didn't even know. And that opportunity was there. You just didn't know it. Then there's other times the opportunity is there and he's sitting behind you, but you don't have the courage to do it. And then there's other times where you have the courage, but you don't have the wherewithal, or you don't have. And so all of those things, the planets have to kind of align, and then you still have to take the leap.
Yeah, you do.
And so you still have to, the window is, all these windows open, but you have to spot them and you have to be willing to jump through them, and then you have to do the work. That's the other thing. You got to do the work.
Yeah, you got to do the work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.